Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ya ayyuhal muslimun. To the long-time listener and first-time visitor, we welcome you to this episode. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله وسلامه عليه أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار ثم أما بعد. We continue where we left off in last week's class and episode, and that is when speaking about the fourth and final characteristics of the hypocrites, and that was the breaking of the contracts. Al-ghadru fil ahd, the breaking of the contracts. And we have reached the statement of Imam Ibn Rajab rahimahullah ta'ala, where he mentions, where he says, Al-ghadru haramun fi kulli ahdin, that breaking the contract, then this is prohibited in every contract. In every contract, it is prohibited that we will violate its conditions and clauses and terms and so on and so forth. Now, we cannot break our contracts. That it is haram fi kulli ahdin bain al-muslim wa ghayri. It's haram, it's prohibited to break a contract, whether it is between a Muslim and a Muslim or a Muslim and a non-Muslim. We are not allowed to break our contracts. The Imam goes on to say, وَلَوْ كَانَ مُعَاهَدُ كَافِرًا, even if the one who we have the contract with is a kafir, the one who we have terms of agreement with is a non-Muslim, we are still not allowed to break that contract. وَلِهَذَا فِي حَدِيث Abdullah bin Amr, and due to this, it comes in the hadith of Abdullah bin Amr رضي الله تعالى عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال, that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said, من قتل نفسا معاهدا بغير حقها لم يرح رائحة الجنة, that whoever they kill a non-Muslim who we have an agreement of protection with, whoever kills a non-Muslim who we have an agreement of protection with without right, except that they will not smell the fragrance of Jannah. They will not be able to smell the fragrance of Jannah. وَإِنَّ رِيحَهَا, even though its fragrance can be smelled, لَا يُوجَدُ مِن مَسِيرَةِ 40 عَامًا, even though its fragrance can be smelled and it reaches a distance of 40 years. They will not be able to smell it. What does this mean? The ulama, they explain. And this hadith has been خرجه al-Bukhari. It has been collected by Imam al-Bukhari. But what does this mean, that they won't smell Jannah? Does this mean that they will enter into Jannah with noses that are not working? Does anyone understand this? That this is what it means? No. It does not mean that they will enter into Jannah and their sense of smell will be inoperable. It does not mean that. It means that they will not enter into the Jannah. Which means that they will be threatened with going and having to go to the hellfire to be cleansed of this sin of what? Of violating the terms of agreement with one who we have an agreement of protection with, meaning a disbeliever, a non-Muslim, who we have an agreement for protection, that we will protect them and they will live under and in our lands protected. If we were to violate that and kill them, then they will not smell the Jannah, meaning they will not enter into the Jannah, and they will have to go to hell to be purified from that tremendous, disgusting, and despicable sin. So this shows us that the honoring of the contracts and the value of honoring that contracts is in a value that is not restricted to just those contracts between the Muslims themselves. Whoever you have an oath or a contract with, Muslim or non-Muslim, then we have to honor the terms of that contract. So this is an extreme warning right here, not to break your contracts and not to violate your contracts. And in particular, and especially those contracts of protection that the Muslim governments, they extend to the non-Muslim residents of Muslim lands, that they have to protect their lives and protect their wealth, just like they will protect the lives and the wealth of any other citizen living in their borders and their lands, due to this contractual agreement they have with them of protection. Now, so this is something that is very important, and it shows you the honor that the Muslim places or should place upon keeping their oaths and their agreements and their contractual agreements and the like. وقد أمر الله تعالى في كتابه بالوفاء بعهود. And Allah Ta'ala, He has commanded us in His book to honor our oaths and our contractual agreements, to honor our contractual agreements with who? With the mushrikeen. نعم بالوفاء بعهود المشركين, that we honor our contractual agreements with the polytheist. Because typically the mu'ahad is who? Is one who is a Jew or Christian. This is typical. So let's go back so we can fully understand why the mushrikun, why the polytheists are being specified here. Because typically the mu'ahad, the one who is living in the Muslim lands paying jizya and the like, then they are from the people of the book. Now, either a Jew or a Christian. So now does this mean that we have to keep our contracts with the Jews and the Christians, but we can violate our contract if it's with, for example, a Buddhist or a Hindu? Do we now, can we violate the terms of agreements because with the Hindu or because with the Buddhist? No, we still have to honor the terms of agreement of the contract. As Allah Ta'ala, He commands us, وَأَمْرَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى فِي كِتَابِهِ بِالْوَفَاءِ بِعُهُودِ الْمُشْرِكِينَ, that we have to honor the contractual agreements even with the what? With the polytheists. فَإِذَا أَقَامُوا عَلَى عُهُودِهِمْ وَلَمْ يَنْقُضُوا, and if they were to honor their agreements and they do not break their agreements, يعني منها شيئات, they do not break their agreements, then what? Then we have to honor it. وَأَمَّا الْعُهُودِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ, and as relates to the contractual agreements between the Muslims themselves, فِيمَا بَيْنَهُمْ, in that which is between them, فَالْوَفَاءُ بِهَا أَشَدْ. Now, so if we are, and if we have to honor the contractual agreements between the Muslims and the non-Muslims, then of course we have to honor the contractual agreements Muslim to Muslim. Now, we have to honor the agreements. We have to fulfill our contracts. There's no way around this. No way around this. Now, and this is just a reminder in support of the students of knowledge and the teachers and the imam, the imams of the masajid, a reminder to the administrators and the administrations of the masajid to honor your agreements with that student of knowledge who you have brought there. Honor your agreement with that imam that you brought there to lead you in prayer. Honor your agreement with that teacher that you have brought there to teach the people in your community. Honor your agreements with them and do not violate the contracts and try to play these games and look for loopholes to play games and where which you don't honor the contracts. It's unfortunate, but you hear often contracts being nullified, people being removed from their position without right, without cause, so on and so forth. So honor these agreements. And this is, and I want you to understand, just for full disclosure, I'm saying this as a support to the students of knowledge now, who are out there sacrificing and teaching and educating and working hard to educate and teach the communities. I in no way am immediately affected by these words. Someone want to say, well, he's just saying that because? No, because I am not, and I do not have any contract with any masjid where when I'm given something for doing something. No, I don't have none of that. I don't work for any of the masajid. I don't have a direct connection with any masjid in the dunya right now as we speak, as I'm saying this. So I have no vested interest and you fulfilling your contract with them or not, outside of reminding you and pointing you to that which is good, and prohibiting you and cautioning you from that which is evil, and from and that which coincides with the characteristics of the hypocrites, and that is what? Breaking your contracts. Now, so I just want to put that out there so everyone knows I don't have no skin in the game, as they say, as relates to that. Walillahi alhamd, Allah Ta'ala has put me in a different position, so I don't have any skin in the game, as they say. But for those brothers who do, then I want to remind those administrations and the like, keep your contractual agreements. And likewise, on the flip side, I want to tell those brothers as well, those students of knowledge who have agreed to certain terms, you have to fulfill those terms. Don't slack on your duties. Do not come up short, and do not violate those things that you're supposed to be doing. Make sure that you fulfill the terms of that contract, and that you provide those services that are outlined therein, and you go beyond that as well. Because just as a reminder, and I know this is off topic, and please bear with me, a reminder that what the administration is paying for, then they are not these services, but they are paying for the freeing up of an individual's time. That's it. The khutbah is fi sabilillah. Naam, the class is fi sabilillah. The counseling, whatever the case is fi sabilillah. You understand? They're paying you up. They're paying you to free up your time so that you have the time to dedicate 100% to the community without worrying, have to being over here and working, punching this time clock or whatever, and working these hours in order to pay your bills to feed your family. So let that be known. It's still fi sabilillah. Now, they're freeing up your time so that you can do these things. But my point is, don't slack. Don't slack on your obligations to the community. They're paying you to free up your time. Your time is free. It's free for you to do research. It's free for you to write. It's free for you to benefit your community by teaching them and educating them. It's free for you to take the questions and the queries from the people of your community back to the ulama when you need to escalate that, because it is beyond your capability and your capacity. Now, this is when you escalate that, when you can't do it. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask the people of knowledge if you don't know. Now, but if you know, because you have learned from the mashayikh, you have learned from the ulama these things, then you teach what you know. Then you go by what you know. But when you don't know, it's beyond you, you have to escalate it, then you what? Then you take it to the ulama. Then you take it to the ulama. Okay? The point is that make sure you are doing your best. And because your time is freed up, do extra, because what? It's all fi sabilillah, but now it gives you an opportunity to do what? To do more good deeds. Now, it gives you an opportunity to do more good deeds, and this was what was intended by that statement that was mentioned earlier, because I don't want nobody taking anything in the wrong way. Now, that makes sense? Inshallah ta'ala, that makes sense? Okay, I digress. Okay, I digress. Let's get back to it. In any event, when it is a contract between the Muslims, between themselves, then us implementing and fulfilling the terms of those agreements that we have between the Muslims, then it takes more precedence, okay? It takes more precedence. Naam. وَنَقْضُهَا أَعْظَمُ إِثْمًا. And violating these terms of agreements and violating these contracts, then this is a greater sin. This is a sin that is even more heinous. That makes sense? ومن أعظمها نقض عهد الإمام على من بايعه. And from the greatest sin, from the greatest violation of a contractual agreement, it is to violate the contract of the Muslim ruler who we have given our bay'ah to him, who bay'ah has been given unto him, وَرَضِيَ بِهِ, and who the people have accepted as their ruler. Naam. And I want you to understand, Radiya bihi, naam, meaning the people, they are pleased with him. This is a lot of times how it's translated. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be pleased with him 100%. Everyone is just overjoyed with him 100%. No. What is understood is that they have accepted it, that this is the ruler. They have accepted this is our ruler. Now, every ruler is going to have their good points and they're going to have their bad points. Like every person, they have their good characteristics and good qualities. They have their bad characteristics and bad qualities. Every ruler is going to have their shortcomings. They're going to come up short. They're not going to be the best Muslim. Like we're not the best Muslim. Now, and I want you to remember, the rulers are from us. We are not from them. Now, the rulers are from us. We are not from them. So the typical level of religious devotion of the average person, or somewhere in that ballpark, then you find our rulers are going to be like that. Okay? You find our rulers are going to be like that. So remember this, because a lot of times the people want to look at the rulers and place a standard upon them that they don't even place upon themselves. They want the ruler to rule the country by the book of Allah, and they don't rule their house, meaning the average Muslim. They don't rule their house by the book of Allah. The person who wants to complain, oh, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that, and they don't rule by this, they don't rule by that, and then you look at the Muslims and you don't rule by this and you don't rule by that. Right? Muslim will say, how do they let these entertainers come inside the country and so on and so forth, and they spreading this and they spreading that? Okay, you let that same entertainer inside your house. You let that same entertainer inside your house. When you have their album downloaded onto your phone or what have you, when you listen to their stuff on the social media platforms, so on and so forth, when you know the words and the lyrics to their songs, so that's how much you done listened to it. You done brought it into your house. You brought it into your own brain. You brought it into your own heart. You brought it into your house. You expose your children to it. You expose your wife to it, so on and so forth. And then you get mad when the ruler does the same thing that you do. Allah musta'an. Okay? Anyway, you get the point? I think you get the point. That's not the point of this class, inshallah ta'ala. That's a whole nother series within itself. But we'll just leave that right there. So, if you have accepted the ruler, this is the ruler. Okay? We accepted it. People gave their bay'ah to him, that they're going to hear and obey. They're going to live in peace and so on and so forth and be good constituents. Now, this is what we have agreed on. To do anything else will violate that, and it's going to be wrong. To do anything else will violate that, and it's going to be wrong. Okay? There comes a hadith عن أبي هريرة رضي الله تعالى عنه فيما رواه الإمام البخاري and Imam Muslim في صحيحيهما. Hadith متفق عليه, comes inside al-Bukhari and Muslim. And the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, on the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, because a person they come and they say, well, what's so bad about violating the rule or this and that when he does this and he does listen. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, thalathatun. There are three. 1, 2, 3. Okay, there are three. Similar to this hadith where the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said 4. Right? He started with the number, and then he brought the details. He utilized the same here in teaching method, which is very, very, very important point to point out and to highlight. But anyway, he does it again here. He says there are three. Who these three individuals? What's going to be their state? La yukallimuhum Allah yawm al-qiyamah. Allah Ta'ala, He will not speak to them yawm al-qiyamah. There are three people. Subhanallah. La yukallimuhum Allah yawm al-qiyamah. Three people whom Allah, He will not speak to them on the day of judgment. Na'am. وَلَا يُزَكِّيهِمْ, and He will not purify them. وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ, He will not purify them from their sin, and they will have for them a tremendously painful punishment. Three people, three categories of people. فَذَكَرَ مِنْهُمْ, when you hear that, you want to know, who are these people? Because I don't want nothing to do with them. I don't want to be from those individuals on the day of judgment whom Allah does not speak to them. I don't want to be from those individuals on the day of judgment whom Allah Ta'ala does not purify them, and for them is going to be a tremendous punishment. I don't want nothing to do with them. Who are these people? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned from them that a man, وَرَجُلٌ بَيَعَ إِمَامًا, that a man, he gives bay'ah to a leader. He gives his oath or his pledge of allegiance to a leader. Now, and this is a point to understand as well, because contractual agreements doesn't mean that every contract is written, signed like this. They're verbal contractual agreements, so on and so forth. Okay? In any event, this man gives this imam the bay'ah. Na'am. But he doesn't give it to him except for what? Except for the deen. لا يبايعه إلا للدنيا. Excuse me. He only gives him his bay'ah for the dunya, not the deen. for the dunya. He only gives them bay'ah for the dunya. فَإِنْ أَعْطَاهُ مَا يُرِيدُ وَفَى. And if he is given, if that imam, if that leader gives him what he's looking for, then he gives and he keeps the terms of his pledge of allegiance. وَإِلَّا لَمْ يَفِي لَهُ. And if he doesn't, then he breaks the terms of his pledge of allegiance. Okay? If he get the dunya he's looking for, he's cool. Increase economic, increase the economy, better the economy, more jobs, unemployment rate drop down below, maybe some stimulus money that was promised or whatever the case is, right? Whatever it is. If they get those things, they cool. If they don't get those things, then they violate. What does that sound like? Allah will stand. Anyway, these type of people, Allah is not going to speak to them on the day of judgment. And he's not going to purify them of their sin. And they will have a tremendously painful punishment. وَيَدْخُلُ فِي الْعُهُودِ الَّتِي يَجِبُ الْوَفَاءُ بِهَا. And it enters into those contracts in which we have to fulfill them and keep their terms of agreement. وَيَحْرُمُ الْغَدْرُ فِيهَا. And it is haram for us to violate those contracts and to break the clauses and terms of agreement. جميع العهود المسلمين فيما بينهم. Every contract that the Muslims have between themselves. نعم. فإذا رضوا عليها من المبايعات والمناكحات وغيرها من العهود اللازمة التي نعم لازمة التي يجب الوفاء بها. And every contract that the Muslims they mutually go into this agreement, whether it has to do with commerce, buying and selling, or whether it has to do with those marital contracts and the like, then we have to fulfill their terms. And it is a must that those contracts are fulfilled. We have to honor those agreements. So those marital contracts, any type of business transaction, we have to honor those agreements. Do not take them lightly. Now, too many contracts are taken lightly, whether it's a business deal or whether it's a marriage contract. People treat it lightly, and it's unfortunate. It has to stop. And again, these side points and things that are mentioned, all of these within themselves are lessons and are classes and are lectures now by themselves. Some of them we could do a whole conference on this thing, but one of those things that we can do a whole conference on is the breaking of the marriage contracts and how people look at marriage as if it is cheap. Marriage, unfortunately, it has decreased in its value and it has been devaluated in the eyesight and in the mentalities of many of the Muslims and reduced to what? To boyfriend, girlfriend. That's how they treat marriage. Like boyfriend, girlfriend. That's how they deem it. In Jahiliyyah, it's easy the person say, okay, we go together. Then they turn around and say, I don't want to go with you no more. That's how they treat marriage. Like it's nothing. We go together. You know what? I don't want to go with you no more. Oh, yo, you over there, new one. Yo, now we go together. You know what? I don't go with you no more. Oh, you, new one. Now we go together. You know what? I don't want to go with you no more. People say, for real? For real. There's situations where you have a person in 1 year been married 3-4 times. Explain that to me. Make that make sense, please. You know what? Stop. Don't even waste your time. You cannot make it make sense. This is not proper. This is not correct. And if you're that individual that you are the one that has been married 3 times, 4 times in 1 year, then I think it's safe to say it's you. It's not them. It's you. Because I don't think a person is going to find 4 duds in a row. 3 duds in a row? No, bruh. It's you. It's you. It's not them. It's you, brother, man. Okay? Stop playing games with the sisters. Stop playing games with the daughters of the Muslims. And the Muslim men who know that this guy is like this, don't let him marry your daughter. Don't let him marry your ward. Don't let him marry your niece. Don't let him get married from your community. Once he has been identified, this person, he habitually plays around with the Muslim women? No, you ain't getting no women from over here. I don't care if you don't like that. Go somewhere else. And if we hear about it, we're going to let them know about you too. Hey, watch out. This guy playing around. In any event, this is how it is. But you know it's not only in the men. Some women, y'all sisters, some of y'all like that too. You bed hop. It's nasty, man. You quick to go from one bed to another bed? Disgusting. Fear Allah Ta'ala. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you that you okay with that? That's even like, you don't have any problems with that. Where's your shyness? It's crazy. 4, 5, 6 brothers in the community know everything about you. I mean, in this physical manner, in this physical way. SubhanAllah. Who wants that? In any event, that could be a whole conference series by itself. But we leave that for right there because it's not the topic. I digress again. Don't play around with your contractual agreements. Don't play around with them. If I said something somebody didn't like, if it was true, so what? I don't apologize for it. You didn't like it, just didn't like it. Like it who like it, hate it who hate it. If I said something you didn't like and it's wrong, let me know about it. I'll retract it, take it back. But if it's true and you ain't like it, I don't care. We have to honor the agreements. And the top agreement that has to be honored is that agreement that a slave has with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because when you concentrate on that, all of these other agreements that were mentioned, they will be taken care of. We have to honor the agreement that we have between us and between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is from those agreements, and in particular, pointing out those agreements in which an individual, they have made an oath, another, that they're going to do X, Y, and Z from that which is from the obedience unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They put that upon themselves, that if they pass, oh Allah, if you allow me to pass this test, and I will do X, Y, and Z, although this is not the best route to go. Now, as the ulama they explained, however, nonetheless, if you make that nadhr, you make that oath, then you have to fulfill it. You have to fulfill it. And whatever that X, Y, and Z that you mentioned was, then you have to fulfill it, you have to do it. You have to honor that. Now, you have to do it and you have to honor that. In any event, there are some takeaways that we get from this hadith. So just quickly, because of my tangents, I'm not going to say the Arabic. I don't want to make it longer than it needs to be. But the first is the first point of benefit is that method that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam he used when teaching, that he would mention the number and then he will go on to enumerate what was mentioned, because it raises the attention of the student and prepares them to listen and to follow along. This is a very excellent form of teaching that we need to employ as educators and teachers, bi'ithnillahi ta'ala. It also shows us that an individual collecting within them all of these 4 evil characteristics of the hypocrite, then this is an extreme warning from that. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy that has all of the characteristics of the hypocrite. And as explained, these characteristics, and these are the characteristics and that hypocrisy that is in action. Nifaqun amali. Now, the hypocrisy of action, that a person is acting like a hypocrite. So no one wants to act like a complete hypocrite. And the other category of hypocrisy is the nifaq al-i'tiqadi, is the hypocrisy of belief, and that is the hypocrisy that makes a person a kafir. Naam. Ala kulli hal, the next point is a warning from lying when an individual speaks, and that doing so, then this is from the characteristics of the hypocrites. The next point and takeaway is a warning from breaking a promise, because this is from the characteristics of the hypocrites. And again, this means that a person makes a promise and they never intended on fulfilling it. They just said that so they can gain and get whatever it is they wanted to gain from that, but they never really intended on fulfilling it. This is from the characteristics of the hypocrites. The next one is a warning from acting in a rambunctious and most vile manner when arguing. They become obscene when they argue. Lie and trick and manipulate, so on and so forth when they argue. Why? Yeah, there's a warning from that, because this is from the characteristics of who? Of the hypocrites. And lastly, a warning from breaking contracts, because the breaking of the oaths and the breaking of the contracts, then they are from the characteristics of the hypocrites. And no one in their right mind should ever want to act like a hypocrite. Bismillahi ta'ala, benefit from some of these playlists and videos and what have you that you may see. And in illa liqa, until the next time, استودعكم الله والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.